This is an obituary of Michael John Clark, my brother, who died of tuberculosis in New Bilibid Prison in the Philippines on the 27th of May 2005. Held at Bearton Particular Baptist Chapel, where family and friends attended, along with Michael and I's probation officer, Morland Hughes, who was the senior probation officer in Aylesbury during our youth. It's 25 minutes long. Now, this may seem strange and odd to people that know some of Michael's history. Michael and I were both, in our teens and in our younger period, rather difficult youngsters. We both went off the rails. We both got into trouble. And we caused trouble to our parents, and we believe that probably mother died of a broken heart. But as you know, that many years ago, the Lord arrested me, turned my life around, I became a Christian, but Michael carried on living life as though it was to be lived, and people that knew Michael knew that he was a lad or boy that really loved to have fun. And whatever he did to the best of his ability. And he was very good at what he did. When he set his hand to something, he achieved it. He built houses, he built businesses, he did this, he did many things, and he was always achieving things. But often what he got up to ended in disaster for one reason or other. We were both brought up in Oldham, and I idolised my brother, unfortunately for me, because Michael, when he was a youngster, went off the rails. We don't understand why, but we know that all of us are wrong, all of us do wrong, and all have done wrong, but some go on doing wrong things more than others. Michael got sent to detention centre when he was about 15 or 16 years old. And he says to me when I met him in the prison 3 years ago that he went there for my sake. And he said he used a knuckle duster to hit someone because he stole my moped. I don't understand his reasoning with that. He got sent another time, came to detention centre again, to Oxford. I don't know what that was for, stealing cars or some other prank or antic they were up to. They were mods in those days. Then he got sent to Borstal. He got sent to Borstal for a 6 month to 2 year period, and he was rather notorious for the things he got up to in Aylesbury. And I idolised my brother because he had a reputation, and I tried to follow suit, and my brother was 2.5 years older than me. But he didn't find the way of Christ. He never, I don't know whether he understood or what. But when I became a Christian, when I was 20 years old, Michael and I, our lives went different ways. And I tried to learn about the Bible and what Christianity was all about. And I joined this church here. This building here is where the church used to meet. I joined here in 1976. And in my attempt to reach my brother, to help him in life's struggles and trials, I had a meeting here 22 years ago on the 5th of June 1983, and I called many people to come and hear what the Lord had done for me. And Michael came, Ray came, and we've made a video of that. We've still got it, and Ray's on it, he's the star. Michael came, and he was at the height of his career, probably in one sense. He had his business, he had a company called Tudor Charm, he built a couple of houses, he was married, and all things appeared to go well for him. And he came to the chapel full of his life and fun, and I had invited all my ex-criminal friends and drunkards to come to hear what the Lord had done for me. And Michael came with a pair of stockings in his trouser pocket, and he was going to put this stocking over his head to say he's come as burglar Bill to steal the lead off the church roof. But that was his fun, that was the way he lived. Never thought about God really. But life hit him when he was in his 40s, just after, and he went through divorce, and he didn't know how to handle crisis, and he turned to drink. And when he turned to drink, he got violent and very irritable, and he got very determined, and he didn't handle things well. Well, 22 years ago when they had this meeting here, Michael didn't hear what I had to say, but he went off. He went through his divorce. He went off to Thailand, got into trouble in Bangkok. He got to his wits' end there. He had to help from parents, and eventually he got back after losing his passport and his visa, and he got in trouble in Thailand. He sent our mother round the bend because she had to try and bail him out of every situation he got into. He sent my sister crazy with his antics, and my brother-in-law because of what he got up to. Then he went to the Philippines. And he had this idea of a business, and shortly as soon as he got out of the Philippines, you know we got sent away for, and he got a 16-year prison sentence.
When I first got news of my brother Michael's arrest in 1993, I was shocked. It came as headline news on the ITN television network here in the UK.
Headquarters of ITN, News at 10, with Trevor McDonald.
It was midday and I was teaching at work at Fareham College. He'd gone to the Philippines promoting his travel business. From the start, I warned him, saying the nature of his business was immoral. I felt he'd been stupid and got what he deserved, and found it difficult to hear his cries of innocence as my heart was hardened towards him.
And I was very hard-hearted towards him. And he used to shout, cry to me and send letters to me, plead his innocence, that he wasn't guilty of the charge. And I just had a hard heart towards him because, you know, I felt he deserved what he got. That's what I felt. And I couldn't listen to his cries that he was innocent. He was set up for this charge, apparently. But what happened in the prison, and we've got, thankfully, his audio tape sent to me and the letters we corresponded. Finally, in 1999, a man got released from New Billericay prison. His name was Sonny Wilson. And he was on death row. He got sentenced to death in 1996 for some crime that was trumped up. But eventually he was proved innocent by the Supreme Court. And Michael used to visit that man on death row every day whilst he was on death row. And Michael used to share with him, talk with him. He was an Englishman from Kent. And there are one or two British nationals in the Philippines, the largest prison in Europe, in Asia, the national penitentiary. And when Sonny Wilson was released and acquitted of the charge and set released from death row, he came to see me and rang me up 2 days after his touchdown in England to tell me a Christmas present on December the 25th that Michael has got the papers to show to me that he's innocent of the charge. The National Bureau of Investigation dealt with the fact, and it stated that Michael had been set up. But I couldn't understand, I couldn't get into it. It took me 6 months to realise what was said in that document. Then Michael wrote to me and he told me that he'd come to an end of his life, really. He was getting old, he's losing his teeth, he's losing his size, and he's going crazy, and he didn't want to kill himself, he feared death, he feared hell. What's he going to do? What's going to end of his life? And it's a very pitiful letter, and I published that in the letter in the book Trojan Warriors. So I wrote to Michael, tried to give him encouragement. But a year later he wrote back to me and said, and his letters completely changed. He was a changed man. He said Sonny Wilson, when he left death row, gave him a carrier bag of books. And in one of this carrier bags was a book called Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Michael read this book, and Michael began to realise what C.S. Lewis was talking about was true, that the Lord Jesus was who he claimed to be. And Michael began to search and sift and go around the prison, ask these questions. And he, like everything else, he does it full steam ahead. He went here, he went there, he got in controversy, and he discovered, the truth of the Bible. And he said to me, look, David, he said, I'm a believer, what should I do? And I told him, Michael, if you're a believer, go and get baptised. I don't care who baptised you, get a Christian in there to baptise you. So what they did in the prison, they got an oil drum. The pastor in the church, who was a former inmate, Reverend Lucas Dangatton, in 1995, he had been in jail for highway robbery. He came out of jail, went back in to set up a theological institute and help Michael. Well, Lucas Dangatton said, we can't baptise you here at the moment because the baptistry where we do it, the pool where we dip people, is to the other side of the prison. And apparently there was gang warfare in the jail at the time, so they couldn't cross the boundary. So Michael said, let's improvise. And they got this oil drum, they filled it with water, and had 25 inmates there. And Michael was baptised, and he's got his testimony on tape. And I've got it, thankfully, I've recorded it. I'll put it on a DVD, CD, so we got his testimony. And he tells the truth about his experience. And these are Michael's words. Now, before I go any further, it's just come to me to say, I think if Michael was here, I think he'd like to say he's sorry for all the heartache, the grief that he put Mum through, and his friends through, and his family through. Okay, I'm speaking on Michael's behalf. He's not here, he's gone to rest, okay? He's sorry, okay? Now, Michael says on his tape that he realises how bad he's been in the past. He realises his lifestyle. He knows he's been out of the way. But he believed the gospel. He believed that the Lord Jesus died for his sins. He trusted in him. And Michael read the Bible and he believed that Jesus, his righteousness, was like a coat, a covering to put over him to make him right before God. And Michael stood in that faith. Michael believed those truths. He trusted in them. As a result of that, I decided to go to the Philippines. And in 2001 we went, Gordon and I, from Falmouth and Wales, we went to the Philippines on a mission. And we went to Breach in the jail, and we went to several jails, and Michael had arranged it for within the prison. He arranged from the jail tours to Angeles City Jail, Olongapo City Jail, where he was, to go back to the cities where he'd done his crimes and tell them what the Lord had done for him. So we arranged it. We even wrote to the governor to get him to release from prison to come with us on a book tour. That's the way Michael was. He wanted to get involved in everything. And we got a letter back from the director saying he was not allowed to go out to it as a video crew because only for bereavement. Well, Michael's here now. Michael's gone to be with the Lord. He's a free man, and I hope Michael's, well, they don't know what's going on now, but you know, Michael would rejoice to be able to share his testimony with his own family today. Now, this testimony is going to be sent back to the jail in the Philippines. In the jail in the Philippines, there are over 13,000 inmates. It's like a small city, and Michael made friends and made enemies there, but we got him buried in the Philippines, and the tombstone we here, this is a photograph of the tombstone which has been placed in Olongapo City. Michael's been buried, his body has been buried in Olongapo City in a tomb above the ground in a concrete cement box, and that's the tomb. Our friends got this done, and we got some pastors in the jail to do the work for us, and they buried him, and they conducted the funeral on the 4th of June this year. So this is going to go back to the inmates to celebrate Michael's life. Now, what I want to say is that when Michael became a Christian, we began to work together, and our desire was to go back to share with our friends together of all that the Lord has done for us, because we know what it's like to have children, youngsters. We failed. My brother and I failed in our families. And we know that parents with their children, they go through this, and they pull their hair out. What can they do? Well, our message is, for you parents that are concerned for your children, we know the way for them is the Lord's way. And we want to encourage them. That's why we try and meet the most notorious people. We work with the most notorious criminals, because we know the gospel is the power of God to deliver men from crime and death and all kinds of destruction. So we go out deliberately to try and help these people. And our desire was to work, and Irene and I were the last church members here, although we haven't attended it for many years. We're applying to reopen the chapel and use the work, and we hope that Michael's testimony here might be just the beginning of a great work. We want to tell the world of what Christ has done to help youngsters of our day to stay away from drugs and dope and promiscuity, all the stuff that is no good. We've wore the t-shirt, we've done it, we know it's wrong, but we've got a better way. And I hope that Michael's lifestyle, we've got videotapes, we've got books, we've got testimonies. I hope that this will be just a beginning of things to come. So I hope this day will be a day of, whilst it's mixed with sadness, Michael died a believer. And he's gone to be from the stress that he was in from tuberculosis. He's gone, the scripture says, where death is no more, where the pain is no more, where the tears are wiped away. Michael's gone. He's with the Lord and will one day partake of the resurrection of the just. And that's our hope. Now, a bit of an unusual ceremony, but there are friends here, and I'd like any of you to, what's on your heart, to say whatever you like for the benefit of the future. So, anybody like to say a few words?